Welcome the first official visit of the Speaker of Georgian Parliament. Dr. Irakli Kobakhidze, let me give you some background, was elected the chairman of the Georgian Parliament in October 2016, when his Georgian Dream Party won overwhelmingly in general elections, securing a strong majority in the national legislature. Having led the Georgian Dream Party's successful election campaign, Irakli Kobakhidze, once elected chairman of the parliament, initiated and successfully completed the process of constitutional reform, which reoriented the country's constitution towards the democratic principles of checks and balances, strengthening the legislature and bringing the government under more parliamentary oversight. Irakli Kobakhidze is a constitutional lawyer by training, having earned master's and doctoral degrees in jurisprudence from the University of Düsseldorf in Germany. As a professor of law, he teaches at Tbilisi State University and has authored several academic publications. We are really thrilled to welcome the chairman of Georgian Parliament in the United States. He already had 3 full working days. We are looking ahead of the 2 more coming up. It's a busy week, so without further ado, let me give the floor to the Congressman David Price. Dear Congressman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. The changing of the plans for our House Democratic retreat, work session, whatever we call it, has enabled me to be here. So I'm very happy for that, although I'm not particularly happy for the reasons behind the rescheduling of the retreat. But I appreciate the chance to be here and to say a word, and I appreciate the deference of Congressman Poe, the co-chair of the Georgia caucus, and our co-host along with the House Democracy Partnership here today. Appreciate you letting me go first, because I do have to go to a meeting connected to the affairs of this week. But I'm glad to be here, glad to see all of you here, and very, very glad to welcome the speaker here. I do that on behalf of the House Democracy Partnership. The chairman of the House Democracy Partnership, Peter Roscom of Illinois, sends his regrets and his best wishes. So I'm really speaking on behalf of both of us. And his staff member, Jeff Billman, show us where you are, yeah, as well as the Democratic staff member, Justin Ween. We're here and showing all the support we can for Georgia and for this event, because we truly treasure this relationship. We value the speaker's visit, the leadership he's offering, and we want to just express friendship and support, and this is a wonderful opportunity to do that. We're friends of Georgia because of course, ties that we've built over the years, especially with members of the Georgian Parliament of both parties. I've been involved in this through 4 speakers of the Georgian Parliament. But we also, of course, are mindful about what Georgia stands for, the kind of friendship with this country, and the kind of solidarity that we feel in both directions because of the values we share, commitment to democracy, a commitment to making life better for all of our citizens, and in terms of the parliaments, a commitment to building effective representative institutions. That is absolutely key to what a democracy is all about. Georgia is doing that, we're well aware, in a very tough environment, in a neighborhood full of autocratic states, and with a neighbor that has occupied 1/4 of the country, and is constantly voicing threats and intimidation. It is a tough environment, and it's one where Georgians of all political stripes have showed an admirable resolve, an admirable commitment to freedom, an admirable wish for self-determination, and really that's all we would wish for Georgia, as we would wish for any country. An ability to determine Georgia's own course, economically, politically, self-determination, to become part of Europe and to have cordial relationships with the West, as of course one hopes for cordial relationships with all neighbors. But self-determination is absolutely fundamental, and we will stand with you in this fight, and we consider our work with the Parliament of Georgia to be part of this fight, because a strong and responsive Parliament, representative institution, is critical to the support of Georgia's people and to the sense that Georgia's national interests are being pursued in a way that, sure, there'll be fights, there'll be partisan differences, there'll be all sorts of things that parliaments engage in terms of kind of internal politics. But at the end of the day, you're all Georgians, you're all committed to that self-determination, and we hope and believe committed to solidarity with our own country. Just three quick things about the House Democratic Partnership relationship. It is peer-to-peer. It is member-to-member, staff-to-staff. We have NGOs on the ground in Tbilisi and Kutaisi who are working with the Parliament in more technical ways, absolutely critical ways. But we understand that for the members, it's important to lead in this commitment to a more effective, more proficient, more professional institution, and we that's our hallmark at HDP, and we have had no more faithful or fruitful partnership than the one with Georgia. Secondly, it's long-standing. Folks in foreign capitals are familiar, sometimes a little cynical, about congressional delegations that come in for a day and then they're off. You know, they talk to the president, maybe the prime minister, and on to the next country. That is not us. That is not us. We're there to stay, whether you like it or not. We're there to stay. We are going to work in your country down through the ranks of the Parliament. We're going to invite you here. We're going to have workshops back and forth for our staffs. And we this is a commitment. And there's a staying power to this on both sides, which, as I say, is our hallmark and we think essential to the kind of work we're trying to do. We're not just trying to have interesting conversations among ourselves. We're trying to build institutions, build democratic capacity. And that takes hard work and commitment. We, as I say, we've worked with 4 speakers now. Speaker Kongressshi is the 4th speaker we've worked with and who we've come to know as colleagues and friends. And then finally, our final hallmark is, I guess, our unofficial motto, that it's critical in a democracy to have free and fair elections, but it is equally critical what happens between elections. That's what we're about. What happens between elections. Either you have an effective, legitimate, representative parliament, or you don't. If you do, then you have a much better chance of serving the needs of all of your people, of having all feel represented, and of having a stable and secure and enduring democracy. So we are committed to that kind of institutional strengthening, and we are looking for that to continue. A visit like this, Mr. Speaker, is very important in cementing this relationship. We appreciate the leadership role Georgia has played internationally. We appreciate the friendship with our country, and we look forward to many, many more years of fruitful association. Thank you, and welcome to Washington.
All of y'all whoever's that was, on the far right over there, and you can move to the left. How about moving to the center? Okay, that's got a lot of room over here if you want to. Yes, my name is Ted Poe. I'm from another foreign country. I'm from Texas, and I want to welcome the speaker here today. We have also with us Duncan Hunter over here. from California, you will find no greater friend in Washington than Duncan Hunter. He's one of our warriors that has been in combat and served in the Middle East, and he probably served with some Georgians.
With some Georgians, that's why I'm here.
That's right, served with some Georgians in Afghanistan.
Yep.
And of course, the Georgians are still in Afghanistan, along with the United States. And as a member of Congress, I want to thank you for that. The work of the Georgians is tremendous. The people in charge of our military say that the Georgians are a great help on the war on terror in Afghanistan. And I want to thank Georgia for doing that. Mr. Speaker, welcome to Congress. This is the members' room. You have to be a member of Congress to normally get in this room. And so you qualify, of course, but we want to welcome you to this very special room where members of Congress spend some time. And thank you for being here in Washington. Your first visit to the United States. It means a lot to us that you chose Washington, D.C., the seat of democracy in the world, to come as your first visit to the United States. And when you come back, we will go to Texas. And that'll be your second visit to the United States, and we'll have barbecue in Texas. But as Congressman Price has said, there are a lot of things in common with Georgia and the United States. Our values are the same. The belief in freedom of the people, as opposed to government running roughshod over the people. People control government. That's what democracy is all about. And that is an important value that we have together. The war on terror is something that is of importance to Georgia. It's importance to the United States and to all free people. Georgia is in a rough neighborhood. You kind of look around and there's not a lot of friendlies there. And of course you look toward the Russian bear, and they certainly are not friendly. Napoleon of Siberia, that's what I call Putin. The Napoleon of Siberia, he still has sights on regaining and retaking over the former Soviet republics. That is why he chose Georgia first to invade, because Georgia was and is still the strongest democracy in the region. And he believes if he can break Georgia, he can break the other former Soviet republics. And so he, of course, went into Georgia, then Ukraine, Crimea before that, and is trying to exert his influence. And I think the world understands those desires, and that is why it's important that the United States stands strong with Georgia and Ukraine, Moldova as well, to make sure that they stay free and independent countries, and they're not some puppet of the Russian imperialist thought. I was in Georgia in 2008, a week after the Russians invaded and took about a third of Russian territory. I saw the Russian tanks up on top of on the hill, and the Russians have not left your country. They are illegally occupying a third of your country. It is still the U.S. policy that Russia is illegally occupying Georgian territory. And that policy, I do not believe, is going to change, because it is true. And they're still illegally occupying Ukraine as well. I think that we want to, as Mr. Price, Congressman Price mentioned, we want to help improve both of our democracies. Democracies are sort of a difficult business, because you have the people making decisions, as opposed to a dictatorship where you don't get any input. And so sometimes, because of the fact that there is the input from people, parties, an outsider might think that democracy is not working. That is absolutely wrong, because it shows it is working. when people have a voice of different ideas and then reach a conclusion. And when you have the speaker in charge of making sure everybody at least remains in a dignified way and making those decisions, that shows democracy works, not that democracy is failing. I am proud to be the co-chair of my friend Jerry Conley from Virginia. He and I also serve on the NATO Parliamentary Council, which Georgia hosted last year. And I think that says a lot for the relationship between the West and Georgia. It certainly shows a lot of the relationship between the United States and Georgia. So I'm proud of the fact that I'm here. I'm very honored as a member of Congress that, Mr. Speaker, you are here, that you have come to the United States to meet with members of Congress and on a bipartisan level, and we thank you for that. And I hope the next time Mr. Price speaks, that it's still the fourth speaker and not the fifth speaker of the Parliament that is here. So thank you very much, and thank you again for being here.
The United States government. We work with poor but well-governed countries around the world, and some of you may know we've had a decade-long relationship with Georgia. We've made almost $500 million worth of investments in economic growth projects in Georgia. We are about 3/4 of the way through our second 5-year-long program in Georgia, and the Speaker and I had a chance to meet this morning to talk about the success that we've had to date and the strong bilateral relationship that the United States government has with his government, and MCC is honored to be a part of that. We've got about a 1.5 years left of work to do, and we've got a plan in place to execute that remaining work with success. But I just want to congratulate the Speaker and thank the Speaker for his commitment to the compact and the commitment to making the right changes and investments needed to sustain these investments that MCC has made in Georgia. We're very proud of the partnership. We're very impressed with what your government has been able to achieve throughout the decade worth of relationships, and we wish you all the success. And again, just want to thank you for your commitment. And you know, the reason that we're in Georgia and have been from the early days are for the very same reasons that Congressman Price and Congressman Poe pointed out. It's that commitment to investing in your people, ruling justly, promoting economic freedoms, and that's why MCC is there. And it's been a wonderful partnership, and we have every expectation that we'll conclude this with success. So welcome to Washington, Mr. Speaker, and thanks again for your commitment.